Greetings and salutations, my name is Deltran doing Fire Emblem Heroes, talking about Ike the Young Mercenary. You and I are going to go over his matchups, his good and bad, his cheap builds, his expensive builds, but first, let's get his digits. So as you can see here, we have a couple of things to look at that are really good. I like to see 35s for attack stats, I like to see 32s for defensive stats, 42 and higher for hit points, and we hit 3 of those benchmarks, so this is fantastic. 35 attack is absolutely wonderful. I like to see that on anybody who I want to throw out into the field. 31 speed is actually good overall. Problem is that Ike is going to be competing with a bunch of red sword lords, and 31 is actually mediocre, if not bad, for his class. So that's going to be something we'll have to work around. But that defense of 32, that's delicious. That means he's going to be able to take quite a few hits, and since he has a 42 hit points, that means he's not going to be shredded through super quickly. Resistance of 18, yeah, well, you know, we had to pay a big penalty somewhere, didn't we? And here it is. It's definitely here. Let's go ahead and take a look at how he compares to his contemporaries. As we can see here, he seems to actually do rather favorably. Well, let me explain a few things. So in the hit point range, he's really in about the middle as far as red units go. It's quite a few at the very top at 47, few at the dumpster bottom level there, along with Olivia and Athena. So Ike really is right in the middle. As far as attack goes, Ike does not have the highest attack along with Crom. However, his attack is very high, so I put him up there just to show you where we're talking about whenever we look at Ike's attack. Marth being in the middle, and then Selena and Fur being at the very bottom in this particular case. Speed, long coup, no one's dethroned him, and Ike really is in about the middle, but like I said, that's sort of deceptive. A median for speed tends to be around 34, 35, I forget exactly where all the numbers stand, but that puts Ike at a big disadvantage, and we'll have to talk about that a little bit once we get towards more builds. Defense-wise, Hinata is at the very top, and then Ike is actually towards the top as well, sharing a defense with several other people, including Alphonse. And then, of course, Lloyd is at the absolute bottom, since he has the second highest res out of all of the units here. As far as resistance goes, Ike is pictured in the middle, but once again, he's towards the bottom, but there's always someone lower, and poor Ogmar is probably going to be there forever. Well, he doesn't slap people around with his bare hands. Let's take a look at what he's got. Ragnell. This is a wonderful weapon. Distant counter, this is probably why many people really favor Ike. Using Ragnell with the distant counter, might 16, you're looking at 51 attack against anybody, which is great. Aether is a special skill he comes with, letting him get that sweet defensive and res penalty and actually heal. It's really nice. Too bad it's a 5-turn cooldown. You're never going to see this in PvP. But he has a couple of good skills leading up to that, including Luna. So that's going to be something that you may end up running quite often. As far as the skills that he has in his other slots, A slot has Heavy Blade. This is unique to him, at least as of recording. As long as he has higher attack than his opponent, he's going to get that charge timer on his special lowered by 1 every time he swings, which is really nice. So you're actually going to see Aether in this particular case. Swordbreaker 3 helps shore up that terrible speed compared to his contemporaries. So you'll be able to actually beat a lot of sword lords that he comes across. And, well, speaking of beating things, let's just go ahead and take a look at his matchups here in the obituaries. 44, 4, 104. When he's defending 43, 14, 95. These are great. That distant counter really helps him. It shouldn't be a surprise that his wins are almost the same whenever it comes down to it, but whether he's defending or not. And this is why you see him on so many offensive and defensive teams. He's very flexible, and he's definitely a juggernaut on the battlefield. Those numbers might not look impressive compared to some other people we have, but the deal here is that with distant counter, he's meant to stand there and swing back at people regardless of the distance, and he can just take a lot of punishment with that 32 defense. Not so much once he starts getting mages on him, but you know, if that mage doesn't kill him in one hit, that mage is gonna die. It's not gonna be lasting much longer. And with a little bit of skill inheritance, he becomes a complete beast. But out the gate, this is pretty much everybody we swing at. No blue. We see all the blue on the flip side here, and we shouldn't be too surprised. This top 4, whenever he initiates, the other ones are there whenever he gets attacked on. We see the best red mages there, as well as a bunch of other mages. Couple of really hard-hitting blues and some of the double tappers. This shouldn't be too big of a surprise when it comes down to it. Without any kind of SI, Ike really is at the mercy of a lot of blues. However, whenever he can fight and spar against the blue, he does really well. And let's go and talk a little bit about how you should play Ike. He is somebody that you could sort of send out on his own and he will be okay for a while. He loves buffs, he loves heals, that's fine, but you know what, between Aether and Heavy Blade and Swordbreaker, he's gonna check a lot of green. He's going to make sure that Hector's not gonna get through. He's also going to be able to retaliate and hit rather hard because of his 51 attack base. Let alone if you have an attack boon, which is wonderful, especially if you're relying on Heavy Blade to be able to recharge Aether. It's going to be going off all the time. So you can sort of just let him go and do his own thing. He can attract attention, he can kill things, it's great. The problem with Ike, and the problem that you'll see with a lot of these builds, is that sometimes you'll get overconfident in him, and then you're going to get yourself into situations, especially in PvE. Not as much in PvP, because everybody just treats everybody like a delicate flower there, for good reason. But in PvE, I know I've gotten to the point where I've sent them in the middle of the field, and I go, oh come on Ike, you died to the 4th mage that hit you? Are you serious? This is ridiculous. And no, I'm ridiculous. No other hero can do anything near like that. Okay, that's a stretch. Almost no other hero can do anything like Ike can. And Ike really does have this niche down pat. So if you are looking for a bulwark of defense, if you are looking for someone who's going to tear it up on attack, Ike is your man. He will be able to duel anybody, and he'll be able to take multiple oncomers all at once. You can put a lot of load on him. Just don't let it go to your head, because like I said, you know, his hit points can reach 0. He doesn't come with an Emblem ward or anything crazy like that. So let's see how we can make him a little bit better. The assist skill, reposition. You saw that coming, right? So to fill up that empty C slot, we have threatened attack and threatened defense. Threatened attack is there because if you send him out on his own, he's going to need that defensive buff to be able to bring him back up and to keep on keeping on, really. Threatened defense, sometimes the best defense is a good offense, and there might not be any saving Ike if he gets swarmed by a bunch of people. So if you just lower their defense and you just say, screw it, I'm going to go ahead and run headlong into everything, I need that extra 5 damage, that extra 10 damage in some cases, threatened defense is going to be there for you. If none of those options sound appealing, you could just go with the spur skill. After all, he does have Aether, which is going to get you lots of extra bonus points in the arena. So you might as well go with spur just to go ahead and shore that up and make sure that you get nice high point values out of all the matches that you go for. So how do we go ahead and retrofit him completely? Well, some of these numbers are going to look a little disappointing at first because we are matching this all up against Fury 3. Ike is somebody who is meant to take a lot of punishment and deal out a lot of punishment, so I didn't feel like doing any builds where I would showcase him without going against stiff competition, because that's just not any fun. If you want to see how that happens, go ahead and put him on the field, put him in the middle of a board in the training tower, and watch him win. So this particular build, 48-7-97, whenever he's going up against Fury, this is a very aggressive build. He has Life and Death 3 on him that will bump up his average there. And between that and Vantage 3, he's a great duelist. He's going to go ahead and smack people, someone will smack him back. And with that Vantage, with the fact that he now only has a quote-unquote measly 27 defense and a really, really, really abysmal resistance, he's going to get that first hit, and he's going to take out a lot. It's going to be amazing just how much he's out there. And this is where Threat and Defense 3 really shines, because, yeah, whenever you lower his defenses, he just needs to chew through things as fast as possible. So between Vantage getting that first hit back at any distance thanks to Ragnell, being able to trigger Luna quite often, and Threat and Defense lowering everybody's defenses so he could just keep on doing his job, this is a very fun build. If you go with Life and Death 2 in non-lunatic stuff, you're actually not going to really notice much of a difference. Once you get to the point where you're trying to go through some of the harder content, you will notice the difference that one speed and one attack, even that one attack, is making. So, you know, weigh your options there. Otherwise, you'll still be very, very happy with them. Now we go ahead and take a look at something that still uses Heavy Blade. These numbers are quite pathetic. 14, 17, 121. Heavy Blade. Here's the problem with Heavy Blade. I have a problem with Heavy Blade just the same way as I do with boost skills, but not as bad. You see, the boost set of skills, you have to have a 3 higher stat, usually attack, if you're talking about fire boost, if you're trying to compare some kind of apples to Granny Smith apples, Fuji apples, Gala apples. I don't know what kind of apples Heavy Blade is. Chopped apples, I guess, because that makes sense. Regardless, Heavy Blade, you have to have 1 higher strength, and in the more elite content that you have out there, you're not going to have that high strength compared to other people. Ike can manage, especially if he's plus strength, he can manage in a lot of normal content. He can even manage in the arena if you're trying to accelerate into Aether or even Luna, which isn't a bad idea. But in other PvE content, Heavy Blade just is not a good option, which is a shame. Whenever it came out, it was really wonderful, and I have an old video around here that I might link in the doobly-doo that shows a Heavy Blade build, but it just has lost its shine thanks to the direction that IS is going. Regardless, if you keep Vantage on here, you're still doing yourself good, and if you're going this route, you do want Threat and Attack to be able to give him that extra cushion. Since he has a nice high defense, he has Aether that's going to keep him going. This will actually perform fairly decently in Tempest Trials as long as you want to charge Aether off of smaller enemies. You can go right on up, hit a mage. That's a cooldown of 2 taken off, but 1 for the swing, 1 because of Heavy Blade. You can charge up Aether, and then you can go after somebody that's a little bit thicker, knowing that you're not going to go up and over their attack. So this is still viable for many reasons, a little bit more than boost skills. This last one's a defensive build. A lot of people put Ike on defense whenever they have him, and unfortunately, he's a little bit easy to target because of his low resistance. 1, 12, 10, and 30 whenever he's fighting opponents that have a death blow coming at him whenever he's on defense. I mean, just pick a blue mage, just pick a blade tome user, and Ike is gone, unfortunately. But if you want to make him as big a threat as possible, give him Fury 3, buff up everything, put Rally Attack on there, or no assist skill. That's my favorite assist whenever we're talking arena defense. You probably want to switch back down to Luna so that you actually get to use something. Quick Riposte 3 gives him that 112. That is so wonderful. Everybody is so dead. I have Threat and Speed on here because that's the most detrimental whenever you're trying to do other calculations for how to kill people in arena. A lot of people go the aggressive route of just being able to double people because you could take a hit, and that's fine. If you can manage to zap up someone's speed, that ruins that calculation, thus giving you a greater chance of actually getting a defensive win. You could substitute Quick Riposte for Vantage in this particular case, and if you do that, you're going to lose about half of your kills that are listed here, but obviously if you get hit hard enough, or if the opponent just isn't hitting hard enough, you're going to recoup all those kills right away. So it depends on what seals the opponent team is using, whether or not Quick Riposte or Vantage would be better for you. Vantage is a little bit trickier to navigate around as if you're on the other side, but, well, you could go ahead and choose either way. It's going to perform really well for you. One final note, if you end up getting a Bane on attack, it's not the end of the world. Definitely don't use Heavy Blade anymore, but if you have a Bane on attack, you probably want to go ahead and grab Death Blow and put that in your A slot. Also, if you're minus speed, you probably want to go ahead and put Darting Blow in your A slot. That's going to compensate for that, and it'll bring you up enough that you'll actually barely notice that your Ike has a terrible, 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 debilitating, sad Bane. I'm sorry, if you have that, you probably already feel bad enough. I don't need to say that to you. But seriously, it's not the end of the world. Ike is strong enough that if you still want him to go on the offensive, give him a Death Blow or Darting Blow to compensate for whatever Bane that you have. And hey, do me a favor. If you're on mobile, rotate your phone to portrait mode. If you're on desktop, hit escape to leave full screen mode, and hit that like button if I give you something to chew on. If you missed the latest Fire Emblem hero information, tap or click on any of the links on the left, and if you like your info hot and fresh like grandma's cookies, hit that subscribe button. My name is Deltran. Thank you guys so much. I greatly appreciate all of you, and until next time, take it easy.